And we are ready to start with Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, which will be run by wyrmtalon. Take it out.
Alright.
Hello, everybody. Might as well do a introduction.
Yeah. Real quick, can I confirm that green is the path choice?
It is indeed the green insanity path is the one that you should choose.
Alright, thank you very much.
We'll explain a bit more of what those really mean when we get a bit into the run.
Yeah, at least until the first chapter.
Alright, time, start.
Go.
Yeah, go, sorry.
No worries. Let's do SDA time and first input.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to Eternal Darkness
Sorry about that.
Sanity's Requiem.
Yep, so this first bit, there's no need to do anything. So,
Already on great pace.
yep. So, I'm wyrmtalon, my couch here.
I am Ozzy,
I'm Ghost King.
and this is Alex getting pushed around by zombies that don't even know. Okay, now you're fighting now. I was going to say, sometimes they'll just kill each other.
Yeah, they will sometimes.
The zombies in this game are not particularly smart.
Okay, now we can do things.
Yeah, so if you can't tell by the start of this first cutscene, part of this game is heavily focused on the theme of going insane. There's a lot of Lovecraftian horror themes in this game, so it's a fitting end to our little Friday the 13th horror / spooky block. So here he's going to set the clock to 3:33. There are a lot of like little hints in the house of like what you're supposed to do, but since we already know where to go, we can just skip doing that.
Yep. Ooh, a secret bookcase. Who'd have thought?
So the story behind this game is our main character, Alex Roivas. Her grandfather was killed in a very brutal fashion before the beginning of the game. So now she's trying to investigate his house, his manor in northeast United States to figure out what exactly happened to him.
Specifically in Rhode Island.
Yes.
Yeah, Rhode Island. And we so happens to come across the Tomb of Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, so the Tome of Eternal Darkness, the titular book, is kind of a forbidden, basically the MacGuffin of the story of this game. There's a whole lot of things that it does, but essentially it is a book that brings power to people in exchange for giving them very ill fortune. So throughout the game, we're going to discover 12 different chapters, which tell of a different character in history, different fictional character in history. This one is Pius Augustus, the first character.
Yep. He's quite important.
Yeah, he's a Roman general, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's currently in this kind of temple. I forget exactly where in the world exactly. The main thing we need to know here is he's come here in search of artifacts.
Yeah, so we're just ignoring these zombies because it's not faster to kill them.
Yeah, we tend to just pretend the zombies aren't real.
Yes.
A lot of the things we'll see are not real.
All right.
So
Can you fit the square block into the square hole?
Yeah, a lot of this
Possibly.
game is similar to the early 2000s horror games. There's a lot of like puzzle-solving aspects to it, or at least some 3D horror games at the time. I personally really enjoy this game because rather than just focusing heavily on its like horror, it tries to actually integrate like a lot of history and a lot of like it has a pretty decent story for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's actually a pretty fun game to play, so it's not all about its scares. It also, for those of you who might be a little bit squeamish, thankfully in the actual run there's only one jump scare, and it's more just a really loud sound that happens at one point about an hour and a half into the run.
No, this is just one of those horror games that's more likely to just get on you on a more personal level rather than just like boom.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit later. The game has a really unique mechanic that helps it stand out from other games.
Yeah, and here's already one that's kind of unique to this game, and maybe I can only think of one other game. Whenever you're using an attack or anything, you can target specific body parts. I mean, this could be arms, legs, head, or even other little body parts, depending on what kind of enemy you're facing.
Yeah, the only other games I can think of that used that were Vagrant Story and Parasite Eve. But those were RPGs. This game is a bit more of a action-style combat system. All Alright, so Pius's segment is very short. Right here, he is picking up one of 3 artifacts. The route, there is a slightly different route for which one you pick up, and that determines a bunch of events that happen for the rest of the game. So for the green route, we're choosing the Insanity route, which is for the goddess Zelototh, or
Yeah, Zelda.
Yeah, Zolototh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot
Yeah,
say
and this
what was
makes
the true beginning.
Zelototh our
Nor-
basic big bad for the entire game now.
Yeah, there are three gods, Shaturga, Ulyath, and Zelototh.
Yeah.
Each one has a different color. Red being mainly focused on health, blue mainly on magic, and green mainly on insanity, which sanity is actually a major... It's its own unique resource / mechanic to this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now we're playing as the second character, Ellie.
Elia.
Elia. That's right.
Yep.
So as you see, Worms just glowed red or glowed green there. His sanity meter was reduced very slightly as soon as Ellie had encountered a big red zombie. Every time you encounter an enemy in this game, your sanity will lower, and that's going to lead to some very interesting effects later on.
Yeah, one other thing to note is also when your sanity meter completely drains, whenever you take insanity damage, it now starts to affect your health.
Yeah, so once you go too crazy, it starts hurting you rather than just being all mental.
Yeah. So there are actually little traps on the floor here that wyrmtalon is going to try and navigate, or at least the only ones he's ever going to step on are the ones where he can just outrun whatever trap is going to hit him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't pick this up, but for marathon safety.
Yeah, this amulet here lets Ilya use, basically, it has 10 charges of a healing spell on it. We don't have access to magic in Ilya's chapter. We don't get magic until the next chapter. And magic's its own whole can of words to explain in this game. It's incredibly unique in how it's used and executed in this game.
Yeah. So right now we're navigating an ancient Cambodian temple.
Yeah. And the traps may look intimidating, but they're really quite easy to avoid.
Yeah, some of the traps later on are going to be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, a
there
little
are
bit.
solutions to puzzles like that, but because wyrmtalon has played this game many times, he just knows, the solution.
I love how absurdly blue that zombie is.
It's pretty great.
So yeah, puzzles so far in these early chapters are going to be very basic. Right here, has to pick up this and fall into this trap, and now his sword is broken. He could pick it up and save somebody, and that person would repair it, but
Saving people from zombies is slow.
You'll be fine.
I believe in him.
Yeah, so the one thing wyrmtalon does want to avoid is taking too much damage. After you reach a certain health, your character is going to start limping, as opposed to just running, and that is slow.
yeah.
You do also have a run and a walk, and your character has sort of a hidden parameter, which is stamina. It varies actually between character, but you want to make sure you don't run out of stamina.
Yeah, it's something you can manage a little bit. Sometimes you'll notice that as he's kind of has like this sneaking animation. It's very hard to tell, honestly, that it's a sneaking animation. But when you're sneaking, your stamina for sprinting regenerates just at the same speed as if you were standing still. So it's something he's going to be trying to take advantage of here.
Yeah. And I'm going to pick up an item in just a second that's going to restore my stamina, so...
So this is Mantarok, a eldritch abomination with many eyes, and what happens actually in the cutscene before this is Pius has become a minion. The subject of the first chapter became a minion of the goddess Zelototh, and now is basically serving her bidding in order to try and resurrect her. And he
Yeah.
comes to this temple to try and seal off Zelototh.
No,
Mantarok.
Mantarok.
Sorry.
Mantarok is pretty much sealed. The more important thing here. Ooh.
I blame
Yeah.
that zombie for that happening.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
now he's limping. He wants to use this necklace to heal.
It is very easy to accidentally just get completely screwed by these traps.
Amusingly enough, zombies are affected by traps, so
Like that. Yeah.
One thing I did mention a cutscene that he skipped. If you play this game and sorry, there's a loud noise in the background. You're good. So if you play this game through at least once on a particular route, any cutscene that you have seen can be skipped. So this is technically New Game Plus, although there's no like New Game Plus functionality like
Other than the cutscene
other than the
skipping.
cutscene skips.
Technically, it's New Game Plus 3.
Yes, because Wyrmtalon has completed all 3 routes on this file, just in case, depending on the bid war.
Yeah, one other thing, even though he doesn't really need the health refill, refilling your health actually replenishes your stamina as well.
Ooh,
And there's
the first sanity effect. Okay, so when you go insane, a lot of things start to happen. You start to hear the music changes. You start to hear the sound of voices, and occasionally you'll get
a little tilted.
Yeah, you get a Dutch angle on the room. And you'll also start to see strange things that aren't actually happening, which your character will remind you. Your character will also tend to murmur to themselves, like...
Yeah.
and then weird things that really bizarre happen. And, for example, you might... Suddenly the character controlling his reverse controls or starts to shrink in size.
We'll show off some of the cooler effects later, hopefully. They are kind of random, and they do lose time, so that is an unfortunate side effect.
But it's
of them.
not worth increasing it, restoring your sanity to stop sanity effects from happening. So it's better to just bite the bullet.
Yeah. It's also a lot more fun to show off some of the cool things about this game.
Yeah.
Yo, another chapter.
Yeah, so most of the chapters in the beginning are just easy to access, but we're going to have to start using functionalities of the Tome of Eternal Darkness in order to access more of them.
Yeah, basically, the game is leading you through these chapters, and as you learn new abilities from playing these chapters, when you go back to Alex back in the mansion, you have new knowledge and powers to further explore the mansion to lock even more chapters. And this is more or less how the game is going to progress. But now we're playing as Anthony. Anthony, as a character, actually has probably one of the better stamina and one of the better fighters in general.
So his
Oh
whole...
my goodness, a corpse in a coffin. Who would have guessed?
So the very first cutscene, he is given a message for the King Charlemagne, and he opens it up and is hit with a poisonous gas that he thinks was intended to be used on Charlemagne in order to assassinate him. So Anthony is trying to find a way to warn the Charlemagne.
Yep. And currently Charlemagne is locked away in the bishop's chambers, so he has to go find the bishop.
Yeah. So this is something that also is going to start happening a lot. When you start off a new character, everything seems calm. You get sort of the setup for their story, and at some point, they're going to warp into this just really freaky room and gain access to the Tome of Eternal Darkness. At that point, they will get all the powers of the characters that we have played as, and strange things are going to start happening to him. In his case, he's going to start turning more and more putrid-looking, deformed.
Yeah.
So essentially, a big part of the story is, as I was mentioning, Pius Augustus has become the minion of Zelototh to try and resurrect Zelototh. In the previous scene, he actually sort of sealed Mantarok, which is kind of important because, like, the gods are at their... they're sort of enemies of each other.
They don't like each other at all.
Yeah, there's going to be actually a triangle, an element triangle, once we start getting into magic here, which we're going to get the first rune in a second.
Yeah, we've already picked up our first circle of power. The circle of power is necessary in order to create circles based on runes. So for right now, we have when we have some runes here, we'll be able to say put 3 runes together to create a spell, but it has to be 3 specific runes. So they're kind of basically like spell recipes. And normally you're supposed to like find various like recipe scrolls
and then there are also codexes that
like
have what the actual runes are called and what their names are.
Yeah, and that's how the game's supposed to normally teach you, but Worm already knows all the recipes that he actually cares about, and he knows which runes are which by just looking at them. So we're here gonna pretty much ignore all those things.
So now we've been given a sword, so we can fight back a little bit easier. He's going to actually aim for the heads on most zombies, because aiming for the head, if you knock the head off, the zombie is much more helpless.
And these black zombies are weak to the torch and just burn instantly. That's also a feature of the Zolototh zombies that we're going to be seeing, so
Yeah,
the torch will just one-shot them,
that's
which
one
can
of
be
the
nice.
things. Yeah, that's one of the things that changes with Route is the type of zombie. Green zombies, I think, tend to inflict sanity effects. Blue ones will drain your blue ones will explode, and then red ones are just bulkier.
So the first real spell he actually is mandatory to use here is in order to finish the story, is the repair spell. He needs to repair these vases and fill these vases with water in order to complete the puzzle later on. And this is this spell is going to be used one more time later in the run.
It's going to be used quite a few times in the run, actually.
Yeah.
It's enchant item.
Enchant item does a lot of things. It repairs things, and it also makes them stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be using it on weapons as well as broken items.
See, right there, there's a scroll right there that would probably have taught him the spell for it.
Yep, that's the enchant item scroll, which I'm not going to bother with. Just gotta weigh down this plate with those 3 jars full of water, which I already knew about, so didn't have to go back and forth to figure out.
So essentially, any recipe for at least for a 3-point rune or 3-point spell is you need a element or color, which we have blue, which is the first one we get, because the first one we get is the one that our big bad of this particular route, which in this case is Zelotah, is good against. So we're gonna eventually get all 3, and they sort of have like a triangle: blue beats red, red beats green, green beats blue.
Yeah, but here we're probably going to get into our first... I hate that corner.
Yeah.
But right here, once we get past this room, we're going to get introduced to an incredibly annoying enemy type.
This is the Trapper.
They don't hurt you. They literally just waste your time. And... he wants to try and trigger the Trapper but not get caught, and... okay, he's
Made
good.
it.
Nice.
Yeah, so...
So, getting caught by a Trapper will waste about a minute or so.
yeah, when you get caught in the Trapper's blast radius...
Just on the ceiling. Don't worry about it.
That's sanity effect number 2.
Yeah. But whenever you get caught in a Trapper, they send you to this alternate dimension where really there isn't any real danger there or really any benefit.
Well, there are monsters there.
There are monsters there, but you can also heal stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a waste of time.
Basically. So now
Even
we're
in
at
a casual playthrough.
Fun fact at this for Anthony, right, in this chapter, he cannot die.
If he runs out of health, he just falls to the floor and has the yellow glow again and stands up.
So this abomination here is a little different from other enemies in that it actually has 3 heads. Usually in order to kill it, you want to just take out its 3 heads. In order to actually kill anything in this game, though, you'll often have to finish it, which, once it's knocked down, you're given a command to finish with the B button. What this does, in addition to finishing off enemies that you don't want to deal with, it also will restore your sanity a little bit.
Yeah, for the most part, he's not going to have want to do it all the time because
It's slower.
It's really slow. And he is nearly done with Anthony. Once he gets in here and sees Charlemagne, he's like, Charlemagne, no!
And basically, yeah, bad things happen to Anthony here too. We'll find out what actually happens to him, but let's just say it's kind of horrific. So there are 12 chapters in this game. We've gotten through the first 3. They're going to start increasing and escalating in length.
Yeah. Honestly,
bit, yeah.
the first 2 have been more or less glorified chapters. And don't worry about somebody knocking on the door. It's just the game.
The key to the second floor broke. What would I ever do?
Key is fixed. Yeah, there's actually a couple sanity effects in this that we're purposely avoiding, like answering the phone, checking the front door.
Dreams.
Some of them
Modern
actually
psychology.
have interesting little cutscenes. Half of the fun of this game is the little flavor that is just like the flavor that it provides whenever you do something like answering the phone.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is Kareem. Kareem's chapter has a heavier emphasis on combat.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because he starts off with a scimitar, I believe.
And he has just generally really good stamina and really good health.
I bet it's a knife. I think he gets a scimitar at one point in this chapter.
He has a tulwar, and he
Tulwar,
can
yeah.
get a second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody has a scimitar in this game. I just like that weapon. It's a big curved blade.
Yeah. It is completely pointless to get the other one to do wilt, though, just because it does the same amount of damage per hit. It just looks cooler.
So this temple will be... Sorry, I'm blanking on something here. Lost my train of thought.
Well, one of those zombies actually hit me when I was doing the finishing animation, meaning that I didn't have to complete it, which was a nice little time save.
Yeah. But you might not recognize this temple immediately, but this is the exact same temple that we were at beforehand as Pius. Only now we're in the little bit distant future from that point.
Yeah, a couple hundred years, I believe.
Yeah.
So each character's story, there are actually 4 settings in this game, and each story sort of builds on the previous time we were at each area. So like we can go back to that area, but now we can actually see more of it. And there's 4 trappers here, so you want to be careful.
Okay, he got past him. That's good.
It's really easy to run into one of those trappers and trigger them. So, glad that didn't happen. And here's the second tour that I could pick up, but not gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, look at all these enemies that he's just running by. They clearly just wanted you to fight all kinds of enemies in this chapter, including this abomination.
Yep. This one I have to fight. It has a rune in it.
So one of the cool things about this game system is just the magic system in general. So, although we don't know every spell, like what I personally did and what I think a lot of people did when they played this game for the first time was once they got a new room, they tried basically every rune to see like what they could get, and then even if they didn't know what each spell was, they'd figure it out kind of on their own. So it has that level of, you know, trial and error and experimentation that I felt really helped its, you know, magic system stand out even with sort of simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, magic runes aren't just always used to create new spells. Sometimes it's just used to destroy
effect.
barriers.
Sanity Effect 3.
This isn't really happening.
You'll hear that line a lot.
Yep.
A good amount.
And the reason we're keeping track of the sanity effects, me and Ozzy are going to donate $1 for each sanity effect that happens. So, there's that.
Don't. And remember, it only counts if it's not really happening.
Yeah, otherwise we would basically count every time the screen was at an oblique angle.
Here he's actually going out of his way to use a finisher on the enemies because he's trapped in this room until all corpses disappear regardless. So you might as well
Yeah.
try and speed it up when you can.
Yeah, I have 4 waves of enemies to fight, and the next wave won't spawn until all the previous wave has despawned.
So you see we're actually in the room where Pius had to place the 4 blocks.
Yes, he truly earned that prize that he got by starting 4 blocks into 4 walls. Pius is very full of himself. He is basically an evil undead lich at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from here on out, though, basically every character, like other than Pius have played and will play, are they're sort of doing their own thing, but they're generally somewhere between neutral and on the side of neutral and good. Pius is just sort of the evil one of the bunch. Although
Yeah.
Kareem is basically, he was told by this woman that he is just like madly in love with to come down here and get some artifacts.
Yeah. He's gonna be kind of disappointed, unfortunately.
It's kind of a recurring theme in this game.
Yeah, but the important thing is that he comes here and he is tasked with protecting something until the right time, which is hundreds and hundreds of years later.
So now we just got the Zelototh rune, which means that any spell that we cast can be now cast as green instead of just blue.
Yep.
So these enemies are really annoying. What they can start to do is, given opportunity, they can jump onto you and claw into your face, which wastes time and also costs you health.
And you can die from it.
That too.
Yeah, they can kind of surprise you with just the kind of damage output they can do. So, yeah, one nice thing that's really nice about this game is that you can set a lot of your spells to shortcut commands.
Yeah, you have five. You have 5 different hotkeys that you can bind to the GameCube's D-pad and the Y button.
Yeah, and he went ahead and used the Zelototh rune and enchanted his weapon here, because there's this thing here that he needs to have this weapon enchanted and stick it in and puzzle solve.
Yep.
Nice little touches. You can basically tell what, I mean, not just by the color, but you can tell when he casts a spell of a certain type, you actually hear the voice of the god that you are using the rune of. So that's why whenever he casts a spell that's blue, you hear the sound of a deep male voice, whereas a
Green is you
green
hear
is-
female.
Yeah, female.
My health is lower than I thought it was. Going to use a couple heals real quick.
Same thing with Chiturga, although it doesn't actually have the Chiturga rune just yet.
Sometimes
Sorry
the
about
menus
that.
are a little tricky to get used to. Alright, I believe we got one. Yep, here we go. I believe.
So now we have another room of essentially a enemy gauntlet.
Here comes the mooks. And at this point, if you got this weapon, you got an enchanted. This is just a matter of time.
Yep. We will be getting some Zelototh zombies and other things a little later on.
Yeah.
I want to actually finish the Zelototh zombies because they will get up again if I don't. Unless I burn them with a torch. Then they won't get up.
Yeah, several other zombies will just kind of dissipate on their own. It's a little faster to kill them, but since there are so many of them, it's often just better to wait it out.
And I forgot how good Kareem was at fighting. Like, that overhead swing he does that just decapitates instantly.
Pretty good.
Admittedly, I have died in this room many times when in casual playthroughs, so it definitely is neat to just, and satisfying to see this done quickly.
Oh, get him off. There
You
you
have to be careful because some weapons, they make collision with nearby walls, which is partly why he's staying in the center here. If he was to hang over onto the wall, he might actually swing his sword into the wall and would obviously do nothing.
Okay, I don't want that little shock to hit me because if it does, my controls will be reversed temporarily.
There you go, one hit. Because again, that overhead swing is just so strong. He hit 3 of its weak points with one swing. It was just really nice. And we're done with Kareem's chapter. You get the blue thing now.
Yep. The essence of Ulyath.
Just don't touch it, like physically touch it. We've seen what that does to Romans.
Yeah.
Well, we will never see what happened,
Yeah. So.
because that's a cutscene.
Yeah. So essentially, the girl that he was like madly in love with kind of enlisted him to pass these artifacts on to future generations. Essentially, asking him, essentially, give up your immortal soul, and let's just wait here for somebody.
Yeah, just to make sure that it's watched and protected, and it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Which it's a good thing, because Pius would definitely love to have his hands on that. Alright.
Got a dresser key in the clock there.
Alright, but now that we have this knowledge of enchanting a weapon, we can stick it in this.
Yeah, Ozzy, the phone's ringing. Who do you think it is?
Grandma?
Close.
I'd be kind of scared. If you do answer the phone, I think you can actually hear her grandfather's voice. As
Yes.
you hear a little bit of narration whenever he opens a new chapter. That's actually her grandfather, Edward Roivas, who was killed before the start of the events.
Yeah, but Edward Roivas was not the first Roivas family member to deal with the craziness.
So a bit of a change of pace. This chapter it focuses on Maximilian Roivas, an ancestor from the colonial days, specifically the 1700s, who had this house essentially built.
Yeah.
Yeah, this setting is a very different type of horror setting. We're going around just collecting things, but yeah, it's gonna get a little hectic in here.
Yeah, just solve a little puzzle. Hey, look, a secret entrance. Where could this possibly take us?
To a flintlock pistol.
Oh, nice. And well, that's a familiar looking book.
Yeah.
Basically, as soon as he interacts with the Tome of Eternal Darkness, things are going to start happening. Like, giant undead abominations appearing in the center of your house.
And he finds out that all this time that the servants in his house are actually all creatures that were sent here by Pius to keep an eye on things. This house is actually built on top of this ancient underground city.
So now what he's also going to start finding is several of the servants in the house will come up and start trying to attack him. It's not going to come up too much in the speed run, but in a playthrough of this game, it actually makes for an interesting experience because you'll start seeing NPCs come over and try to attack you, and then you'll fight back, and then out will come, a zombie with the scythe arms. I forgot what their exact name was.
Bone thieves.
Bone thieves.
Yep.
But
there is some house servants that are not. They're actually just
But you'll see them stop what they're doing and walk towards you, and you're just you start attacking them instinctively, and then they're just gonna duck and cover, and you just feel bad because it's this is not one of the possessed people, but you can't tell the difference sometimes. I'm not even sure if that was intended, but it works really well. Okay, we have Sanity Effect number 4, which is sepia.
Well, no, this is kind of mandatory. This will always happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, you get this and fight the horror that appears. Going to let him do his little stomp there.
Yeah, because while you do have guns in this chapter, it is colonial area, and these guns don't exactly relearn all too fast. But they are powerful.
Yeah. And this is our third rune, Chaturga. Third elemental one, I suppose.
Yeah, well, the Chaturga one's kind of important for many casual players, because without the Chaturga rune, you can't cast healing spells.
Yeah, so we can restore our health. There is the trade-off, though, of your magic is fairly slow to regenerate on its own, and you technically can cast a regenerate magic spell, but it heals you for the same amount that you spend to cast it, so it's useless. And, of course, if you need to use it in a pinch, you can't because you have to take the cast time.
Well, it's not completely useless. When you actually have the regenerative health spell going on, you don't run out of stamina for running.
Yeah.
But we don't have access to that yet, so... Oh, nope, hand crank. There we go.
Yep. Accidentally pressed one of the trigger buttons. Oh well.
Alright, yep, we drain this, and we get taken to the underground city. There's a lot of little things I'm trying to remember.
Sanity effect.
I think this one's mandatory.
Is it?
No?
Okay, I tend to see this one happen quite a lot.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
because I never have full sanity. Oh.
So that's sanity effect. That's actual sanity effect 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we have another rune. I don't remember the exact name of all the runes, but each one sort of has its own thing. Like one is like self, one is area, one is like I don't remember.
Well, this one's
Got
protect.
Zolotov.
Yeah, well, there's
Yeah.
those, but each one has like sort of its thing, like self, enemy, area, etc.
Yeah.
And so you kind of like each spell actually sort of like I think it's like self and then like enchant will like is the enchant your item.
Project item is enchant item.
Right. My bad.
See, all I need to know is Paragon.
We'll get to Paragon. Paragon intensifies.
So here's essentially the last enemy of the Maximilian scenario. This guy just loves to kind of teleport around the room and be annoying.
Yeah. But he's pretty easy to fight. Just run up here. 2 shots. That's the attack. Reload. Then he'll appear again. Chose a bad spot, but it's fine. And he's done.
Yeah, again, remember, red beats green. So that is his chapter.
That cutscene, by the way, is probably one of the most entertaining cutscenes in the game. I definitely recommend you look up Eternal Darkness, May the Rats Eat Your Eyes. It's kind of the best cutscene in the game. We're skipping it here because it's several minutes long. Essentially, Maximilian goes crazy. He doesn't trust anyone, and he tries to tell people, you know, there's an evil city underneath my house, and nobody believes him.
I mean, he's right, but you can't really blame them for not believing him.
Yeah, he's kind of in a total Cassandra problem.
Do I see it now, I wonder? Yes, there it is, the statue. I love that statue.
Yeah, so Alex's scenario is sort of scary in a different way. Nothing is actually dangerous to her, but her sanity meter slowly declines over the course of the game, and things are going to start happening. Like she's going to start seeing paintings that were otherwise colorful or neutral as like scary and foreboding. And she's also going to start hearing sounds. You're going to see the Dutch camera angles and so on.
Yeah.
And this is Edwin Lindsay.
He is probably the biggest badass of the entire game, I would argue.
He has a shotgun. He makes it instantly better.
Yeah.
So now we're back to the Cambodian temple that we visited as Elia earlier.
Yeah.
So Edwin is an archaeologist, and we're actually taking a big leap in history. This scenario is set in, I believe, 1983.
Somewhere around there.
So basically like a little reference to Indiana Jones, I would kind of say, except in a horror game.
Yeah, his main thing is that he can excavate, where he basically takes some brush and does something off, and hey, I discovered something. Aren't I clever? And he found some reading material.
Yep.
The big important thing to note here is that this is the last time we will see Mantarok's temple in this game.
At least as far as like scenarios,
Okay.
they kind of flash to it in the cutscenes.
Yeah, but in terms of just playing it again, which I'm thankful for because these traps are still kind of nasty.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's actually kind of interesting in how the plot is. Lindsay did not find this place on his own. It is, in fact, a disguised Pius Augustus led Lindsay here to help find this temple because Pius knew that he accidentally overlooked where Mantarok's heart was when he was first here. And now that is our ultimate goal, to get Mantarok's heart while we're here.
Yeah, there's actually a really cool cutscene at the beginning where you find after Pius leads you here, you get into sort of this little cool gunfight before Pius runs off to try and look for the Mantarok's heart.
Yeah. I like the cutscenes in this game, but they take way too long to do in a run.
It's genuinely well done. It's kind of unfortunate because the studio that made this game was Silicon Knights, which dealt with a lot of issues later on after this game, specifically involving a game called Too Human, which took forever to come out and was really mediocre and was notorious in that the entirety of their warehouse for it had to be destroyed once it was found out that they were using illegally obtained code.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it pretty much ruined any hope of a proper sequel for this series, for Eternal Darkness.
The creator, Dennis Diak, not a particularly well-liked guy, I think, in the community. He did try to initiate a couple of Kickstarters for like a spiritual successor, similar to the way that many games did in the early 2010s, but it never panned out and never got very far, unfortunately. So it's a shame we really don't get games. We won't get like a horror game that has this really unique, magic system and the sanity effects. There are a few games I've played. Oh, nice.
But it wasn't really happening. Oh, was that 5 now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like there are a handful of games I played that use similar types of sanity effects. Very different types of games, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so good to know that you must be, in order to be a good archaeologist, you know how to accessorize.
Something like that.
So here's another rune. There are how many runes are there in total? I believe there's like
It's a good
I
number.
believe there's like 8 or 10.
Wow, I'm blanking on the number.
Not counting Zelotov, Chaturga, Mantarok, and Ulyath. There is actually a nice little bonus collectible that's like hidden in this area. You have to go really far out of your way to do it, so it's not actually faster in an 80% run. But there's a dedicated run in which you grab the Mantarok rune. And the Mantarok rune is broken. It sort of combines or does the opposite of other runes. For instance, healing, you will heal all of your stats if you use the Mantarok healing spell. Interestingly enough, like there's some other ones we get later, like Reveal Invisible. Mantarok will actually... Oh, hey, nice
darn it. They're on the ceiling. Dang it.
That's 6.
6.
So the Mantarok rune will cause you to become invisible, for instance.
Let's try to avoid some sanity effects.
And, okay. Nice, got through there.
Let me take this time to remind everyone that we are less than $2,500 from the total amount raised by Calathon in 2017. So keep these donations coming in. We're also only $40 away from $13,200.
Awesome.
Real talk, thank you guys so much for supporting the marathon, watching, sharing, and everything. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's been great. Boy, things are looking very green. There we go. I mean, sure, why not? Why try to be an actually good archaeologist and avoid the traps when you can just, tough it out?
So here he needs to, I believe it's acid. He needs to, like, sort of soak this rock in acid in order to get the necklace that's in it. We need to get 3 necklaces, I believe, the bronze, gold, and silver.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was, like, really, really rusted.
Something like that.
Oh,
So the green in this room is sort of a gas that I believe it drains sanity first and then health.
No, just health.
Just health. Okay, it's just regular poison. Okay.
Yeah, it's just poison gas.
Sorry, I'm so used to associating green with poison.
it.
It's been a couple of years since I've actually, sat down and played this game all the way through. But I really love this game. I played it through all 3 times. Because you get a secret ending by beating the game with all three endings.
yeah, and it's one of those kind of like big kind of like makes you think type endings.
Yeah, I won't spoil what happens in it, but
Rude?
Yep, that was very rude of him. I should have known better.
yeah, so this was a bit of a cult classic in the early 2000s. I think you can still pick it up for a decent price online. I heavily recommend this game. It's one of my all-time favorite GameCube games.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit harder to come by since this was only released on the GameCube, and I don't think this is ever going to see a re-release unless Nintendo decides to go out of their way to do something.
Yeah,
I mean, they did put a lot of money into this. They even patented the whole sanity system altogether.
Yeah, this is a first-party Nintendo. Well, not a first-party, a Nintendo officially, produced product. Not first-party developed, but like this is something that is Nintendo's.
They put a lot of money into
yeah.
it.
It's also their first ever M-rated game.
Yeah,
I'm feeling a little bigger, I think.
maybe. Maybe it's not really happening. 7.
Sorry, you see me drinking a lot of water here. You gotta stay hydrated. That's really just my throat's kind of scratchy, so I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah, we're talking quite a bit here. We still got a good lengthy part of the game go. Honestly, it's one of those runs where it's like, yeah, these chapters seems to be going pretty fast. He's knocked out several characters, and we've mentioned like 12. There's a couple characters whose chapters go on for a pretty lengthy amount of time.
Shotgun shells.
Reload.
Reload.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm not used to running out. Usually the thing at the very start of this level just takes one shot, but I didn't set up my position quite right to do that.
Always throws me off because to me those voices always sound like they're saying yummy, yummy, yummy.
All right. So here he activated a kind of a unique spell here. These 3 little flying orbs are actually barriers. So he just took 3 hits, and now they're all gone.
Yeah, that's the shield spell.
Yeah. So that spell fizzled before because I moved.
Yeah, you need to stay still. Oh, there's sanity effect number 9. Well, I mean, this is a flashback to the Legacy of Kain, Ron. Just start from yesterday.
Yeah, you're kind of doing it wrong, though. You're supposed to go up, not through the floor.
I'll go through the floor if I want to.
Say hello again to Mantarok.
Yeah, he's still there. I kind of find it funny. Mantarok is known as the corpse god, also known as a god of chaos. And Mantarok's whole thing is actually having control and order over the 3 other ones, because should one of the other gods ever break free and kill another god and use its power, they would destroy basically the known existence, and therefore chaos would cease to exist. So, in a way, chaos is trying to bring order?
It's a
Sure.
yin and yang phenomenon there. Yeah, so in that cutscene, he actually meets with the ghost of Elia, who gives him the heart of Mantarok and tells him, guard this with your life. And so he takes the heart of Mantarok.
Oh, damn it.
Well,
There's a nice
We're
little-
never getting it. We're
Is it-
never getting the sequel.
I love that bait and switch. It's one of my favorites.
Really happening?
It's so good. So Edwin Lindsay gives. Oh, there's a flying book.
yep.
Gives Ed Roivas the heart of Mantarok in a cutscene later.
Yeah, that was 8, I think.
I count 10.
You count.
I've counted 10. I've
Okay.
been keeping track.
All right. I'll trust you this time.
So this room has been sealed off for a while. We see the ghost of Max Roivas go into this wall that really looks out of place. It's slightly discolored, and the wallpaper doesn't seem quite as attached as it should be. We'll get
Yeah.
into that later. So you have to cast a spell to dispel that barrier there that we can now do, and that is where we get one of the next chapters of the Tome of Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, I believe the next one is Paul.
Yep.
Paul's scenario, I think, is my personal
Europe,
favorite in the entire game.
During the time
I
of the
disagree.
Inquisition.
I do not, because Paul for me is a lot of back and forth.
It
And
is, but I mean, like, story-wise and all that. I also like that he's voiced by the Colonel from Metal Gear Solid.
Wait, what? Really?
Most of the voice cast in this game is actually like from Metal Gear Solid.
They're pretty top-notch voice actors.
So, his story starts off. He's currently in the church that Anthony was at back in the era of Charlemagne. He finds a corpse, and this is during the Inquisition era.
Yes.
So naturally, when a corpse shows up and the Inquisition's around, they'd be like, "Well, you're obviously suspicious. You're not allowed to leave."
Yeah. So we need to find out where and why this corpse is there. So we're gonna come here a couple of times. This is the bell tower, or no, the bell tower is a bit later.
This
My
is
bad.
the bell tower.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
it's
are
the
going to
bell
the bell tower. God, I'm mixing up my layouts here.
It's alright.
Yeah.
But I just think this, like, you know, foreboding church setting really works for this game.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I do think the church is probably one of the better design levels in this game.
It has this air of mystery to it. So ringing the bell summons the custodian, who is one of a very small handful of allies you actually have in this game.
For a time.
For a time. Yeah, he helps you out and gives you a little bit of information.
Yeah, he's like saying, "You don't know what you're getting yourself into. Stop."
Of course, you know, being that this is a video game, thou must.
Not a moment too soon.
Yeah, so this, they call him Luther. Full name is Paul Luther.
Yep. Yeah, so basically what we need to do right now is gather evidence to show that we're not at fault for the corpse that was in the other room before.
Yes. It was a different other middle-aged bald man. I swear.
And this rune over my head is a magical spell. With the Chaturga rune, it gives me infinite stamina as well as health regeneration. It's the stamina that's more important to me.
Yeah, because otherwise Paul kind of gets tuckered out real fast. But now he's ready for the marathon run.
Yeah, so there are quite a few sections of go here, find this. But curiously enough, one of the things that happens story-wise is Paul will find these pages that tell him a little bit of information about what's going on, and just kind of, it gives this really foreboding look to the church, which the actual name for it is the Oublié Cathedral, which is interesting. I believe the word oublié in French translates to forget or forgotten.
You are right, indeed. I am French. I can confirm.
Okay. I heard it in a song once, and I thought that was interesting. Yeah,
Okay.
Because this is in France. And nothing scary ever happens in France, right?
Yep. I'd say you're correct there.
You spoke
Th-
too
th-
soon.
This is not scary. What are you talking
this
about?
is normal.
Yeah,
Just, you know, bone stealer.
just your average Friday.
It's your average Friday in 13th century Inquisition.
Hey there, Anthony. I wonder where. Oh.
So this is Anthony again.
So, interestingly enough, I believe he fights with a different weapon if you don't pick up the two-handed sword.
If you don't pick up the two-handed sword, he fights with his bare hands.
Yeah. So now we're kind of setting him free. Like his soul and body have been just sort of trapped here for hundreds of years.
And his AI doesn't really know how to react.
Come on. Anthony, stop. Quit it.
Ow.
Thank you. He doesn't need that sword anymore, right?
I don't think so. I think we could use it. But we mainly needed the ruby that he had.
Wait, why are you running away from that guy? He just wants to talk.
Yeah, it's a bone thief. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we saw the bone thief jump into him earlier. I don't trust him.
So the diary pages are actually really unsettling. They're from I believe they're from another member of the church, kind of saying like strange things are going on at the bottom of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
They're the diary pages of the guy that was found murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that is going on in this church is that Pius has one of the artifacts of one of the other old gods, and he's currently summoned this monstrous beast to protect it. And unfortunately, this monstrous beast, it doesn't work for free. It needs food. So he's been secretly feeding various people that he can, get away with feeding to this beast.
So now that he has you see he's actually unlocked a damage spell, and this will attack. This will like send a shockwave similar to what we've seen enemies try to do to us, to anything nearby that you hit. This is really useful because it's a ranged attack to deal with trappers.
Yep.
Carbon Water just donated $20. Thank you, Carbon Water. And he says, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, this church really loves tri-prong colored things.
Again, in tight corridors, you do want to avoid fighting things, partly because, partly because it's slow, but also partly because it is fairly easy with certain weapons to accidentally just end up hitting a wall.
Yeah, things are starting to look a little bit. You're starting to getting low.
And so that rune is the Pargon rune. Pargon means power. We can't use it just yet, because unlike the other runes, it doesn't work by combining it with other specific runes. Rather, it is an enhancement rune that once you get a bigger plate,
Power circle.
power circle. It looks like a plate to me, and that's what I've always called it. Once you get a bigger power circle, you can cast a spell that you've already unlocked, but with 2 additional Pargons, or 4 additional when we get to the 7 power seal. And this does an enhanced version. Sometimes it's required, sometimes it just does more, like it'll take more MP, or magic points, to like heal more damage, for instance, or deal more damage with the damage spell.
And I used a meditation rod to fully restore my sanity.
As much fun as the insanity effects are, having full sanity is ultimately faster if you can keep it up.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have to worry about sanity effects.
Yeah, it was a lot faster here to use that meditation rod than it was, say, to cast a spell over and over to get back to full.
Yeah, so I still say the best sanity effects in this game, though, are not the ones that like actually mess with how you play the game, but like actually physically mess with you. Like we saw earlier, there was like the cutting the game here, go buy the sequel, which is coming soon. And there's some other really interesting ones, which hopefully we will see in the run. I won't spoil them until like we get towards the end. Hopefully one of them will come up, but yeah, they're like next level type of sanity trick. So he has the puzzle memorized there. Because every church in a horror movie needs to have a creepy organ
Yeah,
theme.
but with that, we get our next circle of power. This one is a 5-pronged circle of power.
We're not going to pick it up just yet because we have to run back here anyways. But we're opening up the cabinet now. But so first we're going to the bell tower to report to the custodian what we found in all the diary pages.
It's not good.
Yeah, essentially, we've uncovered a conspiracy. We need to figure out one last little thing. The custodian also gives you kind of a very sad, like, message saying he feels he is not long for this world.
Mm-hmm.
He is right. He is.
Usually, when people in this game say that, they're
They're dead.
wrong.
Suspected Augustine all along.
Yeah. Wait. The guy's name is Augustine? I wonder who we know. Somebody that has a very similar name to that. Can't think of anybody. Pius something, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, Pius Augustus was his full name. I don't know if we ever fully said that.
Yeah,
so-
we have. I know. I was joking with that.
Okay.
Augustine, Augustus, tit for tat, you know.
I don't remember if I said his last name. That's why.
Well, it's out there now.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't get to show the cutscenes because I do think Pius Augustus as a villain is actually really, really entertaining to watch. It's one of those just hammy acting. It's great. Alright. Craft some spells here.
Well, I did say there aren't that many jump scares in the game. There is one in particular I will highlight a little bit later. The next time we do come into this area, there is one, but you know, I'll save that for you guys. I don't particularly care for jump scares myself, but this game I think handled them better than any other one.
For me, it's the feeling of unable to fight back. That's why I can't play games like Amnesia.
Yeah.
All you have is a freaking candle. I'll be like, come on, at least raise your fist. You can fight back. So now he's actually able to make the kind of like second tier version of the regenerative spell. It
Yeah.
now lasts longer.
Yeah. Which is
Sorry, I had to cough.
all I really needed to do, really. Okay.
Oh, hello. And they hit each other. Of course they did. Trappers.
That's fine.
You've actually been pretty good. Sometimes it's really. I was kind of thinking you'd like get trapped at least once, but you've been doing all right.
You sound disappointed.
Oh no, I'm not a mean, horrible person at all.
To him.
Hey, I'm just salty. I always got caught by the trappers all the time.
Ooh, that always gets me.
Yeah.
So doing that actually causes our little custodian friend to essentially realize his own prophecy. So essentially, we betrayed him without even knowing. It's kind of sad, actually. Answer.
And here he is.
You are a clever man.
Okay.
Add magic.
I was out of sanity actually.
Oh.
And my spell got interrupted by them looking at me.
Oh right, because your sanity got so low,
Yeah,
it
my
actually affected your health.
yep.
As a note for the level 5, the power 5 spell, the biggest difference it provides with something like the runes over his head, the regeneration, is it just extends the duration. So he's going to be using the level 5 for that, and then the level 7 later.
Yep. For the most part.
Yeah, that's pretty much how most spells in this game work. There's a first, a second, a third tier version.
Yeah, so they actually give you a warning here, which makes you think that you're about to fight a boss, which we haven't encountered any bosses in this game just yet. But the boss, which is the big monster, excuse me, that Pius put there, deems Paul not worthy. And depending on your route, different things will happen. My personal favorite is in the Ulyaoth route, where he will just shoot a bolt and Paul's head explodes.
Yeah.
This is not a very, this is an appropriate late night run because this is probably not the best run for little kids.
A family video game.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss the thing on the other side of the piano.
What is the thing on the other side of the piano?
We're not discussing it. Did you not hear what you said?
Okay. Fair.
Much has
Well-
been written about the exploits of conquerors.
All right. So, this
Yeah.
is the Forbidden City chapter.
Yep, and this is Roberto.
Poor Roberto.
Yeah,
His job is literally an architect.
He's basically a slave architect forced to survey the area, which is incorporated into this because you have to survey certain points throughout the area.
And this guy clearly has skipped cardio for quite a while because he is one of the slowest characters in the game. One of the things that's kind of unique design is every character in the game actually does have hugely varying stats. Yes, Roberto's slow, but he has a very large magic meter.
Yeah, it's alright.
And some of it actually is interesting in the way, like, it actually makes sense. Characters who seem very characters who are in situations where they're very untrusting.
No, he's actually got a high decent magic. Not magic, but health.
Yeah. The characters who are in a situation like they're untrusting, like Max, actually has a fairly low stamina meter, or not stamina meter, sanity meter. There's another guy later who actually has the lowest because he's been involved in war. I'll explain that when we get to him.
Yep. But one thing I kind of find funny about Roberto's whole thing, because he's forced to come here and survey, what's stopping him from just going back and lying? Yeah, I totally checked this place out. It's totally not filled with horrifying creatures, I swear.
We also have quite an extended period without the Tome of Eternal Darkness, so at least now we have ways to fight back that aren't hit thing with Torch.
To be fair, Roberto really doesn't have to fight much of anything.
Not anymore, anyway.
So long, Trappers, we hardly knew you.
Yeah. He's going to be casting a lot of spells here, so actually having this regenerative spell up is just nice here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, once you get to the 5-part circles, you're starting getting to the point in the game where you're starting to really feel just how powerful magic is. You can just do so many things with it.
So anytime you see something step on that, it'll crush. And interestingly, they did program it that if you step on there, bang, game over. And
Yep.
I've done it before. You feel like an idiot when you do it because what did I expect?
Right.
I did contemplate saving there and then doing it, but decided that would just be a waste of time.
Kind of brutal. I don't think Roberto deserves that.
You don't run this game.
True, I did find him probably my least favorite character to play as.
Yeah, and if it isn't obvious, we're back in the temple that we were in originally as Pius, back at the very start of the game, and of course as Kareem. This will be the last, the second last time we'll be here.
Second to last.
Yeah, because we do come here with one more character. So we go ahead and we pick up the artifact of
Ulioth.
So essentially what we're gathering is we're trying to get all of the artifacts over the course of the game, other than the artifact of Xelatoth, in order to have the means to fight back against Xelatoth and her wave of minions.
Yeah, in the meantime, Pius's whole plan throughout the ages is that he's waiting for a particular lunar cycle that when it is he has the most power to be able to bridge the gap of dimensions in order to bring his god over.
Yeah, and essentially that actually happens in the present, which is where Alex is. So you're basically building all this power up in kind of in one night to fulfill your destiny to fight back against Xelatoth.
It's, I assume, one night for Alex. I don't know how long it takes to read that book.
I'm not sure somebody would be able to sleep at that place.
Probably not.
So that, I believe, is Sanity Effect 11.
I think so.
So one thing I didn't actually mention was the spell that we unlocked earlier. As you can see, there is a spell that you can summon. I believe spells 10, 11, and 12 are all summoning spells.
6, 8, and 10.
Right. Three different spells are for summoning, and those actually depend on the level of the power circle. So spell 6 is specific to level 3. Also, the surveyors really want to get him.
Up, Sanity Effect. Oh wait, no,
No.
the door.
No, I just forgot to unlock the door. That's all.
Okay.
This is one of the most annoying rooms in the game.
Yeah, because you have to prepare a shield in order to get through it.
Doesn't matter what element it is, you will be shocked whenever you step on here. If you run out, then if you run out in the middle, then you're basically dead.
Yeah, because
Pretty much,
even
yeah.
if it doesn't do a lot of, it does a lot of little chip damage, but you're stuck in there and you flinch and you flinch and you flinch and you flinch.
Might be a good idea to probably save at some point here, just in case. 'Cause we did have technical issues earlier.
Yeah. No, not safe to save here.
Yeah, so you can save just about anywhere in this game. This cutscene just happens. You don't have to worry about these guys too much.
I just like it. Ah, these sort of things. Psh, dead. You just swat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't like fire, it turns out.
Is it safe now? Well, probably after you survey, I guess. I believe that was the last survey spot you had to do. Alright.
This game actually has a pretty accurate in-game timer too.
Yeah.
Close to it.
Got stuck on a body for a second.
So it actually, I believe, takes 2 shocks for the for each of the little shield balls
Yep.
to go away there.
Yeah, it takes 2.
Yeah, usually it's 1 hit.
Nice little, like, laser show you got going around your body there.
It's pretty good. I like
if
it.
if you're in a horror game, what better thing to do than to hold a rave?
I can't argue against that.
So now that we've surveyed everything, we can confirm building anything here is probably a really bad idea.
The place is filled with demons and devils. Also, is it just me or am I getting smaller?
I think it's just you. Oh, there we go. That's number 12.
Alright, I believe the exit's right
Not
this
quite.
way. You're getting close.
Yeah. We're nearly there.
As you can also see, the blue and red zombies fighting each other. It's kind of funny, but it's an interesting how mechanics like that work.
Why can't red and blue zombies get along?
I know, right? They need to unite against the green zombies. Nobody likes the green zombies.
I know, those guys are jerks.
Honestly, I'd prefer to fight the green zombies than the red ones. There's the exit. And we're done with Roberta.
And Roberto earns himself a lifelong service as cremation in a tower literally made of people. I wish I was joking.
Yeah, basically it's a sacrifice tower to try and get enough sacrifices to basically fuel the energy to help in the resurrection of Zelototh. Alright, time to come back to the Oubliette Cathedral one last time.
Yep.
The war
Peter.
to end all wars redefined how mankind.
This one takes during the World War I era in France.
Yeah, so that's why you hear bombshells. Essentially, the Oubliette Cathedral was turned into a makeshift hospital. And yeah, this chapter to me is probably the most unsettling because you start getting these letters from one of these soldiers who is wounded, and he starts like noticing people going missing, and he's like afraid for he's like afraid because he like each night wounded people seem to be vanishing, which obviously, as we knew 600 years ago, Pius had set it up so that sacrifices were being used to feed the creature that's been buried here for the last 600 years. So essentially, he's sending wounded soldiers in the disguise of a hospital. Yeah, this is not for this game is not for the squeamish, especially this chapter.
Lights out.
Yep.
And reading material.
You also notice each time we come back here, another statue has been erected. So
Yep.
it's one for each of the characters who has been met with the Tome of Eternal Darkness. I don't believe Lindsay is there though.
Yeah, it's just the ones that have died from it. The ones that survive the encounter aren't in there. And I'm just going to ignore that bone thief taking that lady's body. That's fine.
Yeah, I forgot Peter has a really, really short, small sanity meter.
Kind of a product again of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Peter's whole story is he's a journalist, so he's trying to get a story for an English paper, I believe. And
Probably?
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's English.
Yeah. Either way, man, if you ever done your history, World War I was not a good war.
It was a lot of horrific things happened to people. There's a reason that when we got the term shell shock, which we later, I believe now we call it PTSD, but the term shell shock came about from World War I, with a very disillusioned population fighting a war that many of them didn't feel like they should have even been fighting. It was a very brutal time in history.
And that's not even including the chemicals. Like,
Yeah, this was the war that was defined by trench warfare.
but besides that history lesson, I believe you're more or less just trying to get power restored again.
Yep, we've just done it. And we also got the 7-point circle of power.
Yes, now we're just making a bunch of level 7 spells. Probably a good time for donations or any plugs you'd like to make.
Absolutely. We don't have any donations right now, but I'd like to remind you that we have some incentives for a game that are coming up after this one. We already met the goal for for getting all the collectibles for Gargoyle's Quest 2, which will be run right after this game. But we also have a incentive, which is playing soccer in Hyperlight Drifter. It's an amazing thing to watch. So if you want it to happen, please keep the donations coming in. We have also a bunch of things concerning Zelda: A Link to the Past randomizer. One of them being forcing the runners to play all dungeons. And if you've never seen a game of randomizer, please stay around for it. It's going to be incredible.
I'm trying to remember. Which spell was that again he just did?
That was reveal area.
Ah, right. So let's just pretend somebody here doesn't know what reveal area does.
It makes so that things that are invisible are visible.
Darn, I thought it was damage enemies.
No, that's project area.
Yes. Boom. If you had the volume up too loud on that one actually startled me once. There we go. All the jump scares are gone. There is one that if you've played this game, it's rather infamous. We're not gonna do it.
If you've played this game, you know what it is.
Yes. If you haven't played it, I encourage you to play it, or at least look up. It's probably if you look up Eternal Darkness, you'll find a particular scene in the listings on like YouTube of like the top like first 10 search results. Yeah, that gets you good because you really don't expect it. And I think that's personally like any sort of horror story that like if they want to use a jump scare effectively, do it the way this game does. Like when you actually least expect it and come to expect, you know, a different type of horror, and then bam, they hit you with it. Like my friend was like, "Can we turn the game off, please?" Because we were doing a like co-op playthrough of this game.
Yeah, you're running out of stamina pretty fast here.
Yeah. That's what the magic pool is for. It's also to offset some of the sanity health loss.
At least he does have a decent chunk of. Oh, jeez, they're kicking him. Uh-oh. Of course.
I assume you quote unquote lost control there too.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Okay, was that 13?
Yeah, 13. See, now that's actually an effective bait and switch. I know we tend to do the bait and switch thing, but this game actually does it to you.
I know, I honestly thought he did die, and I was like, oh no! Yeah, he doesn't normally go for this item. It's usually optional, but it's just really nice to have for the part coming up here.
Yeah, we're fighting a boss in this chapter.
Yeah.
The
after 9 chapters.
The guy that Paul was going to fight. And it didn't like Paul.
Well, Paul didn't have a gun.
To be fair, we're not going to use the gun on it.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good. Could you shoot another one of those?
Sure.
Thank you. That's great. I can't be the only one who played through this game and got a gun and used it against those little buggers.
I just enjoyed using damage area and just hitting like 5 of them on some of the screens and just have a bunch of them just like pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. That's pretty good too. Alright. Going to restore my sanity here. And we'll go ahead and save just in case, but it should be fine.
I always thought you had to do the part where you take the trapper and move the guy. Or we already do that.
Alright.
We did that.
I completely, I must have like completely spaced out or something. Sorry, it's like 3 a.m. here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Here's
Again,
the first boss.
I'm kind of sad. Doesn't he reverse your controls or something?
Nah.
Or he just tries the mind control, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So we were basically trapped in this arena of the cathedral. The way to damage this guy is to just cast a damage spell of the opposing element.
Yeah. Each phase of this boss fight will take 1, 2, or 3 phases, depending on which level of attack spell you use on him. So I'm using the 7 tier in order to make each phase a 1-phase fight.
Yeah.
But it means I have to hit it pretty much exactly as soon as I can.
Yeah, so there's sort of like a little risk-reward thing here. You want to cast a level 7 to end the phase as quickly as possible, but you need to time it really well. So sometimes you, at least in a normal playthrough of this game, sometimes you just want to use like a level 3 spell so that you get the damage off quickly and you don't have to worry about him knocking you out of it. So now we're at a very small and enclosed, claustrophobic enclosed battle arena.
Yeah, fun fact, this boss is actually completely different depending on which path you chose. So, for example, if you had picked Chichurga as your main antagonist, you essentially fight kind of like an angry giant red crab. That's what it looks like to me anyways.
And in that cutscene with Peter earlier,
Paul.
Paul, sorry.
Yeah.
We were playing as Peter. Paul gets crushed just by his giant arm.
He gets PG-13 to death.
Alright, so the next cutscene is 69 years later. What happens is a very, very old Peter goes to Ed Roivas and gives him the heart of,
The artifact.
the artifact of Chiturga.
Yep.
The claw, I believe.
Yeah.
Lucky penny.
So now we learn that one of the artifacts is somewhere in this mansion hidden. We just have to go find it.
Oh, we learned that after we finished with Lindsay.
That's unsettling.
I'm sure she's fine. Maybe not.
Have you tried bleach? Alright, so now we come down here, and over there is a big safe. Man, if we only had a way to open it, like, sooner.
So we learned in Peter's scenario that the Lucky Penny will serve as a replacement little conductor in the fuse box. So now that we have the Lucky Penny, we do that again to fix some of the electricity in the house.
Yep.
Phones are fuzzy. We gotta get that phone.
No, it's telemarketers. It's always telemarketers.
I agree. Let's leave the phone alone.
Yeah, especially with the sanity of this game, they're probably telemarketers from hell.
Probably.
Oh, there we go. Tone of Eternal Darkness. So now we're finally going to learn a lot more about the voice that we've been hearing a lot of this game, which is Ed Roivas, by playing as him in the mansion.
Yep.
And this scenario is one of... we actually believe this is the longest scenario in the entire game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
up there.
And we'll find out why later.
Oh yeah, I mean we've already. If at this point you're pretty familiar with the mansion, all the rooms for the most part. This isn't the problem with Edward's chapter being long. It's everything beneath the manor.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that.
So we're going through, picking up a few things.
Yep. We got some books. We're bringing them back to the library.
Yeah, I think how this, like, his part of his chapter kind of kicks off is basically he gets visited by the ghost of his great-great-grandfather, and it is like, I wasn't insane. It was all true, I swear. Something like that.
Sure.
So here we see a familiar puzzle. So
I wonder what the solution could be.
This is the only reused puzzle in the game.
Well, here at least
Okay.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Ah, there's the Tome of Eternal Darkness. Maybe this time it'll finally be nice to us.
Maybe.
Usually when you hear that like sound of that just violent double bass,
Boom, boom.
dum, or stand-up bass, dum, dum, usually a sign of not good things. I actually do like the soundtrack in this game. I mean, a lot of places you just hear kind of, ominous noises and, the bass thing here.
They really know how to play around with the ambient sounds more than
Yeah.
anything else. That's what I've noticed. It's like one of those games where it's like, if you can like have surround sound going on with this game, and it does have Dolby surround sound support, it really sounds great.
Wow. I've miscast my spells a little bit here.
And, yeah.
So he can move after the 7th one gets cast, just briefly. So, like, you can save a little bit of time there. So he's getting himself set up, because part of this scenario is there's a monster that comes out of the basement, and he's going to need to deal with it pretty quickly.
Just making sure I have my spells where I think I have them.
Yeah, the downside of having
Yeah.
all your spells unnamed because you don't have all the information the game's normally supposed to be giving you.
Well, it's...
Come on, man, you don't have the magical energy to cast the spell.
Should now. Yeah, so I made a bit of a mistake with my casting there and lost some time.
Yeah, because it's important, because this guy is our first major barrier for this part of Edward's chapter. He has pieces of a key.
Yeah, so while wyrmtalon has not actually died once in this run, in a casual playthrough, there are a few parts of the game that can be a little challenging. Dealing with this guy, I managed to find myself dying here so often in my casual playthroughs. Like, every time, it's like I will end up dying to this guy at least once.
Yep, so we just did a bunch of damage to it, and it retreats to this basement and uses this rune to heal itself. We need to do this a couple more times.
Yep, we need to chase him to the basement 3 times.
So, to note, you can't see him normally. He'll kind of sneak around and then possess one of the maids or the servants. But if you have, I believe, Reveal Invisible level 7
Yeah.
of the opposite element, you can actually see where he's going. So we're going to pick up some stuff and wait till he comes back out. And with Reveal Invisible 7 Chaturga element, we'll see him right as he comes out, and we'll be able to attack him before he's able to possess any of our servants.
I wanted this assigned.
It's a lot of Pargons.
Stay calm and Pargon.
Okay, that's enough Paragons for now.
Alright, he's got to be coming right about now.
He'll be here soon.
Yeah, so this is probably a nice little break from the action. If you want to go ahead and make any donation or read any donations or plugs, go ahead.
Sounds good. We don't have anything at the moment, but let me remind you of the prizes currently available for your donations. For $5 or more, can get this amazing Drake and Josh GBA game. For $30 or more, can get the Cuphead Funko Pop 6-figure set or the Shovel Knight combo bundle. And for $50, there's a pack of SNES Classic with Playing with Superpower SNES book, as well as the Shovel Knight plushie combo prize bundle that you really want if you love Shovel Knight. It's a great game, believe me. Finally, the last prize is for $100 or more, a Nintendo Switch with Zelda and Mario Odyssey. And remember that all your donations are accumulated over the entire course of the event. So keep these donations coming in.
Okay, come out. We won't hurt you. We swear. We just want to be your friend. I think he's buying it. There he is.
Hello, friend.
Boy, he looks so lost and confused.
So now we have the second half of the basement key.
Yep. So all that waiting was just to get that other half of the key from him. And yeah.
Simple enchant spell later, and key is fixed. Knock, knock. This is my basement now.
So here we're going to take care of the rune first because it's going to love to come after us. Looks like Reveal Invisible is worn off.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you kind of need to wait for him to appear in order to attack him. And that's part of what makes dealing with him really difficult. This game only has a couple of bosses, and neither of them are particularly hard. I still consider this guy to be the toughest enemy in the game, personally.
Yeah.
Thankfully, if he attacks and we have a shield up, it's not going to get rid of... it's not going to get interrupt whatever spell we're trying to cast. I forgot how disturbing that was.
Right? There's
Well,
a noise.
you're reminded.
I mean, that's a noise, all right.
Let's
All
get
right.
some chat interaction in here. I want to see. I want to come back and look at the VOD and see just a bunch of Pargons in chat. Has anyone been posting that in chat at all? By the way,
What do you mean, Parcon?
Pargon.
Pargon.
Oh, Paragon. I don't believe so right now. But maybe chat can actually try it out. Post some Paragons in chat.
Pargon. You can hear it right now.
Oh, you're gonna want to watch the VOD clearly.
So this guy casts a barrier around himself. We don't really use barrier, but it is an interesting and useful spell that you can set up around yourself to protect yourself.
Sure.
All right, so this is kind of one of the main things that probably frustrated most players, is that there's this whole system set up to warp you depending on which runes you activate in this kind of like chamber. So we need to go to these platforms and insert specific runes into these panels.
So for this particular spell, we're looking to do, I believe, so there's actually 9 of these rooms, and each one takes us back here. And this is why this chapter takes so long. But we want to do a damage 9, I believe.
We want to do Dispel.
Dispel 9, right?
Yep.
So with each progressing level of Dispel, it's gotten much more potent. But now that we have a way to set up 9 runes, it's going to be a super powerful spell.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's essentially going to dispel all of the inhabitants of the city from this realm. Send them all back to where they came from.
Yeah, essentially, the city is just literally one giant rune circle.
All to prepare for the return of Zolotop, of course.
There's actually some interesting little bits of speed tech here. Much of this game is just game knowledge and playing it out, but here you see him actually swinging his sword before he enters the circle. And this saves a little bit of time because if you don't, Ed will walk into the circle and that'll take like a little bit of extra time.
It saves literally frames.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Just equips the gun just to shoot the trapper.
Yeah.
That's what you do to trappers. They are to be shot. They're like necrotic varmints.
Just so I have my count, we're at 13 Sanity Effects so far.
I believe so.
Yeah. I haven't seen any in quite a while though. That may change.
We're a little overdue. So here's casting Dispel 5 to get rid of this barrier.
Yeah.
Big part of why this scenario is the longest by almost by a significant margin. There's one that's roughly equal. Is just having to navigate through all these rooms.
Oh, it's a virtual labyrinth.
But it's cool. We get my personal second favorite scenario after this one.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of funny to see you swing your sword at nothing to save frames?
Dang, damn it.
Yeah. It is a bit unusual, isn't it?
Well, you started it, now the chat is spamming Porygon every time.
You're gonna hear it
Brilliant.
a lot. Just not even we're doing the casting. It's just the enemies.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you, chat.
I did a donation challenge once for a marathon run of this game where it was per Pargon, and I ended up counting a total of 170 something Pargons for the entire playthrough of the game, or the entire speed run of the game. You hear it quite a lot.
Yep.
Not 171, 174, because it's always even. Or maybe it had an interrupt. I don't know. I'm just babbling myself.
There's always an even number of Pargons. Unless you cut them off like that. See, that's what happens when you don't swing your sword at the right place. You take 2 steps forward, and then you disappear. And we're about halfway done with the city here.
God, it takes forever.
I wasn't joking. This is the longest. I mean, it would be one thing if the first thing he encounters is the city and just goes right there, not even dealing with the mansion stuff. But then there was that whole part where you were literally just waiting for this guy to show up through the basement door.
Yep.
Nonetheless, it is probably the most important scenario story-wise, other than Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically what Edward ends up doing is literally delaying the inevitable, but by a significant margin.
Yeah, just so they have enough time to get what they need.
Yep. It's important. Just takes a while.
solid run we've got going on so far, though. No deaths, no big issues and hiccups.
Yeah, it's been alright. Except for that just there. I wasn't supposed to use that one.
I'm good. In case you can't tell, there's really not a whole lot going on. If you got any plugs, anything to say, you can go ahead, take it away. We're just gonna be sitting here.
Sounds good. Right now we don't have any donation, but we are only $20 away from $13,200. So keep them coming. I'm here to read them all.
Yeah, so I didn't actually mean to do this one just yet. I meant to do another one first, but it's okay.
It's not like you have to do them in any particular order.
Yeah, they just have to all be done. They're just optimal order of things.
Alright, this makes like number
So
6?
there are 3 more after this one.
Wow. Well, some of them are shorter to get back to than others.
Yeah, because you do start opening up little barriers.
Yeah, thank God for that, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the rooms are interconnected, so if you break open one of the barriers, it's a quicker route out.
Yeah.
Also, if you walk near that thing in the center, actually, no, does it activate when you hit the switch? Okay, it does.
Yeah, it's when you hit the
This
switch.
is a forced sanity effect.
Yep. Foreshadowing for later.
This guy continues to put up like a barrier. It's like, I'm going to obstruct you.
He's really afraid of us, I guess.
I suppose so.
He wants to get in our way, but he can't even cast this level 7 spell to block us off fully.
I always like to think of it as like one of those really bad goalies. I've got everything covered. Goal is literally wider than he is.
It's like getting a Pee-wee hockey goalie to block at the NHL.
All right, one left to go.
So there's actually a little bit of an interesting trivia. So before we set these runes to have the red color, which we did once we set it to Chaturga, you noticed a yellow color. Same thing you also noticed in the temple with Roberto when he was walking across the floor that would damage him. It was yellow. Originally, they were planning on having a fifth, at least as the story goes, they were planning on having a fifth yellow element that never actually made it into the game. Which is also why, if you look at the list of the gods, there's 5 slots for the runes, like for Chaturga, Zelototh, Ulyath, and then the unlockable Mantarok. So just a little bit of trivia with whenever you see something that's like a glowing yellow color.
Yep. It'll get us someday, I'm sure.
We're on the last one here.
One more after this.
Yeah, you gotta.
Oh, right, you missed the bottom left one.
I intentionally left it blank for a quicker escape.
Right, because once you do that, it's gotta get out of dodge real fast.
Yeah, Edward likes to think he's an action hero. So, funny thing about that particular spell, it continues through the cutscene, but since Edward was in a cutscene, it didn't target him, so it just killed all the neutral zombies in the area.
I guess the spell's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
All right. Can he do it? Can he successfully block you? No.
Nope.
No. Wow, Pius, your guards suck.
We are making fun of them, but definitely when you first time around, some of them can actually be a legitimate threat and pretty scary.
Yeah. A lot of the things are like that in this run.
Well, you also don't realize like the fact that the regenerated health thing keeps your stamina up, so you're always a little bit more cautious.
Let's make sure I cast the spell right.
You hear like a static sound, and then
You're like, that won't work. Try again.
Yeah. And if that happens, it's really terrible because you have to go back through that pillar and set the rune again.
so now we've meddled a lot with the city. We better get the heck out of Dodge.
I think they're upset with us.
Just a little bit.
That's the reason he set that particular point as his last one was the exit here is the closest to the exit of the area.
No, I was completely wrong and lied. Sorry.
That was the plan, okay.
That was the plan. I just got the map mixed up in my head.
Yeah, now you see him out of stamina there. But thankfully we're at the very end of his, we're at almost the end of his chapter, so he doesn't need to cast the spell more than once more.
Yeah.
But he obviously doesn't want to run out of stamina here. Those are some big angry zombies.
Yep.
Did I ever tell you guys how much I hate stairs? I really hate stairs.
Well, we're done with them. For now, at least.
I don't know how Avalanche does it. Alright, so now we finally view the cutscene of where he tucks away one of the, I believe it shows where he tucks away one of the artifacts, but we get to see essentially what happens and why he dies in that cutscene. It's actually a rather brutal.
He knew too much.
He knew too much.
Indeed.
Ozzy, pick up the phone. Don't be rude. Yeah, so we've been building up an arsenal of things. Kind of what I think really makes the Alex scenario just shine is, at least, you know, thus far, is like every like intermission, is that there is nothing here that's been there to like bother us, and yet you keep on thinking something is going to happen. Also that- Eventually.
Yeah.
And then just like it builds up anticipation, and now finally, this cutscene determines why. Now that we have a pickaxe, determines why Max Roivas went to the insane asylum in one of the previous cutscenes, and also we saw like in the Insanity Effect he was locked away in a prison. He got sent to a mental institution after he
Found the lost city.
After he found the lost city. He
Yeah.
basically didn't trust anyone in his house and started to just
He went on a
ruthlessly-
rampage.
He just went on a brutal rampage over every servant in his house because he couldn't trust any of them. And so, yeah, that's kind of back then gonna make you wind up in a not very good place.
Hey, considering the times, I'm surprised they even stuck him in the insane asylum. Usually you think they just nip that kind of thing in the bud.
So now we have a stethoscope, which we are going to use to unlock a safe. And wyrmtalon is actually going to cast damage here because enemies have finally started to attack us. So now everything we've built up is coming into use.
Yep.
Yeah, this is kind of one of the annoying things is that Worm knows the combination to the safe here, but until you have the stethoscope, you can't actually use the safe.
So these are fabricated zombies. They're not real, and as soon as you touch them, they disappear. So they're just mental illusions,
All right.
hallucinations. It's just like a real safe, sort of.
Kinda.
Maybe.
It's really easy to overtick on that thing too, I've noticed. Anyways, a bunch of stuff. And our last chapter.
Michael.
I always liked Michael.
So Michael
Wherever
is
disaster and
an
death lurk,
interesting fellow.
there is like
He is a Canadian he's a Canadian militant fighting in the Gulf War, which was in the 1990s. He winds up landing in I believe an emergency landing or a crash. I don't remember the details on it specifically. But essentially, he's got a bunch of guns, and he is exploring the temple.
He has access to a bunch of guns. We don't pick any of them up because
Yes.
it's slower.
Yeah, but this chapter is really kind of a breather chapter, like after that big, long.
Edward chapter, yeah.
Yeah. So you get like just a big old arsenal of things to deal with enemies. You got
He
like a
also-
machine gun with like 500 bullets and everything.
He also moves very fast.
Yes. What military training will do for you, Roberto. You could stand to get in shape like this guy.
Plus, where we were like, how Edward wishes he wasn't, it pretends to be an action hero. This guy is an action hero. Look at this. I mean, look what he's doing here. Action hero material.
As a note, though, I believe Michael has the lowest sanity meter in the game, which, considering he is fighting in a combat situation, it does make sense. But similar to Peter.
Yeah, he's got pretty low sanity.
And we just passed the $13,200. Thank you for your donations, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Get it going. We're, as shown on the layout here, just under 2,400 away from last year, and that was the very end of the marathon. So, like, kudos for getting us, this far, this fast. We still got a whole almost a whole 2 days worth of runs.
Yeah.
That's the trappers in that room.
Yeah.
Where they are is somewhat randomized, so sometimes you have to dodge and weave around them. Which can get kind of scary considering they get set off by sound.
I believe if you slowly walk past a trapper, it won't notice you.
You can sneak past them, yeah.
Yeah. But of course that's slow.
Yeah, it's very slow.
Also, these guys with the wings are some of the most annoying enemies in the game. They can only be targeted on the head when they throw their wings out. Also, this is a familiar room. This is the very last time we come to this temple. And here we kind of see the... I believe there's also a cutscene in here where we meet the ghost of Roberto.
Yeah, he's actually in surprisingly good spirits for being cremated into a wall of dead people.
So here we use the trapper to actually trap a relic that's in our way. And it's actually really interesting if you go into the trapper dimension, which hopefully we don't.
You had to open
I
your
had
mouth.
I had to jinx it. Well, we get to show off what I'm saying here. So everything
There you
that
go.
we have sent to the trapper dimension
We'll
shows
just
up.
say it was intentional.
Yeah. So everything that we've seen in the trapper dimension shows up here, or sent to. So we want to wait for this to.
It's faster to just not bother waiting. It's
Okay.
random how long it takes to change and which one it changes to.
Okay. So you can stand on that red thing there to recover health if you need it. Trapper dimension actually seems to be more of a boon than a problem. But yeah, here you see the guy that we sent here back in Peter's scenario, as well as the giant block that we moved out of the way. It's kind of a nice little touch that they have for consistency.
And this barrier won't drop until one of these horrors dies. So we're going to find one of them to our will and make them fight. And it's random how long this fight takes.
It's Rock'em Sock'em Horrors.
Yep.
I got my bets on the guy on the right. Who do you think's gonna win us?
I think we're going to win.
I have seen this take
Eventually.
so long that the bind wears off.
Please no. Alright. Now we have C4 plastic explosives.
Sure, whatever you say, boys.
Like how it just outright tells you.
Yeah.
I think, oh, there we go. That's 14.
Alright.
Fun fact, the voice of Michael here is actually the voice, he voices someone in one of the Metal Gear universes. He also voices the Grim Reaper in Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
I
Just
didn't know that one.
Just random trivia that I picked up looking this game up.
Oh man, I haven't seen that show in years. I feel old.
Let's talk about a kid show while playing a game clearly not for kids.
To be fair, that is a bizarrely humored kid show.
So you combine the C4 with the detonator caps.
And then you enchant it.
Yep.
Because
and we
why
are going
not?
to blow this place to smithereens.
To be fair, Enchanted Dynamite sounds cool.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So now we just need a level 5 shield. You could do a level 7, but it's just unnecessary.
Also, my magic's kind of low. That trip to the Trapper Dimension made my magic wear out sooner than I would have liked it to.
Worms!
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I guess, yeah, you don't actually have to fight them.
Yeah, they're gonna blow up in the explosion anyway.
But he needs magic in order to get through this room.
Yeah, if you try and brute force it, you're done for. So we're just gonna be backtracking here. If you got a quick donation.
Absolutely, yes. Gabe donated $20 and said, I really loved this game when I was younger, and it's still one of my favorite horror games of all times. So I just had to donate during this run. Donation goes to Runner's Choice.
Cactuar for Religions, Link to the Past randomizer.
Sounds good. I will note this down. And Narakath donated $10, and you will never believe what they said. Bargon.
Thanks so
I
much for your
approve.
donations. That's Sanity Effect 15. We've missed my favorite Sanity Effect.
Yeah. We've missed mine too.
I love the lizard.
So, when your sanity is low for long enough periods of time, it will actually mess with you on a completely different level. One such thing is the volume on your TV will start to go lower, the screen will fade out, and you'll see like the words like AUX on the top right, or like video. I don't remember which
It
of the
says
two.
video.
Video, which a whole lot of okay, that is the end of that. So a whole lot of old like CRT TVs had these particular things. So you're thinking like my game just fizzled out. I'm gonna go check my cable to see if it's working right. It's actually the game. It's like next level.
It has a false discrete error.
Oh, that's also a good one. There is another one where it tells you your memory card data has been deleted too.
Yeah, I thought I'd try for it just there. And this guy doesn't want to let me pass, so I'll just have to stab him. That's what you do when people don't let you past.
Yeah, so there's a scene with Michael, who meets with Edward a couple years ago before he died.
It's like, hey, I found this. It looks kind of freaky. I think you should have it.
And basically, it's kind of sad. It's implied that like he's not long for this world. It doesn't actually get explicitly stated what happens to Michael. It's kind of a
No.
shame because he's probably the biggest badass in the entire game.
I will not argue against that.
Security's adjusting the way this laser points. This is one of the only puzzles the game actually outright tells you how to solve. But at least it kind of is told in an interesting way. It's in the note that Edward Roybus left Alex. So we're going to be playing as Alex for the rest of the game.
Yep, we're done with the Book of Eternal Darkness. Oh, package arrived.
This is
Well-
not actually a sanity effect too. This is
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope it's my copy from Amazon. Well, what is it?
We'll find out soon.
I hate waiting. That's all I did, waiting for the package to get here in the first place.
Well, the guy's been banging
come
on
on,
the door
dude.
all night.
You ordered with Amazon Prime. It didn't take that long.
I'm impatient, dang it. Also, shoutouts to the delivery man who was like, I'll ring the bell to be courteous, but I'm going to open your door and leave your package inside anyways.
To be fair, I wouldn't step foot in a creepy manner like that.
You open the door and you see a bunch of zombies.
So, is Hollywood...
Okay, we'll open it. The essence of Ulioth.
Just randomly in the mail, we just get the essence of Julio. It's like, that could not have... I don't know how that got through customs. I'm just going to say.
Send it back. This isn't my package.
I mean, bear in mind, this was a Canadian, and you do still have to send things through customs to get him here. So we're back at a familiar place. This time, though, the gimmick is... Well, first of all, that shield there actually inhibits us from making progress. But we need to have shield up. If we don't, we are dead.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
The floor is lava. Or...
Damage field.
Now we're in a very familiar looking room.
So we have to place the 3 essences of the gods that we have essences for.
One of the pillars is broken, but it'll be back in a second.
Yeah, so we can't actually enchant any of these yet until we have all the artifacts here. So this time we're not going to be doing a dispel. This time we're going to be doing something much bigger.
We're gonna do a summon.
Yes. So a summon level 1 just summons a regular zombie. A summon level 5, I believe, summons a bigger zombie. Or sorry, 3 is a trapper, 5 is a regular zombie, and 7 is like a big zombie.
Horror.
Horror.
For 7.
So, yeah, so our solution is this. We cannot kill this god, so we're going to
That's not the one I need.
so we're going to summon a god that can win. So we are going to go ahead and summon
Chaturga.
Chaturga.
It does depend on which route you do. And this is significant because it does sort of lead into one of the eventual like themes with the game, and especially when you do all 3 endings. So I definitely recommend trying this game out and playing those few endings. The first playthrough, I say, takes about 12 hours, especially because you have to view all the cutscenes, and it depends on how quickly you find things. Oh, there's a bug walking across the screen. That's another sanity effect.
Ew. Kill it.
It's gone.
No, there's more.
Like, I don't want to just look at chat and just see a bunch of what faces. Do we count that as 15, or is that that's not a this isn't happening?
That's not this. That was happening. We saw it.
I guess every screen in this room suddenly had bugs on it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's fine now.
The chat is very what face right now.
I approve. There's some more paragons.
This is one of the more annoying and tedious rooms in the game. If you don't know especially if you don't know what to do.
If you don't know what to do. It's not too bad if you know what to do.
So we need to summon 3 different creatures, and those will kind of go into a little display. As a note, your character gets a shield around them whenever you summon something. So we summon a level 3 Ulioth Trapper. We need to summon a level 5 Chaturga Zombie, and then a level 7 Zelatoth Horror in order to solve this puzzle.
And the types and creatures you need to summon don't change depending on your path. This will be the same regardless of which one you choose.
For the most part, puzzles tend to stay the same regardless of which path you end up choosing. It's really mostly just enemy flavor and boss flavor and cutscenes.
Yeah, that's the big reason why we have to do all 3 playthroughs. Because even if a cutscene has like a sliver of difference, it doesn't count as a unique cutscene. I do love this little Bebo Jack Frost we got going on here.
Alright. Into the display room with you.
Alright, so...
16.
Wow, if you lost weight.
I don't see this one very often.
This can't be happening.
16?
Yes. Also, fun fact that you haven't been able to tell the main character of this game, Alex, is voiced by Jen Hale. More famous for roles such as female Shepard in Mass Effect. God, Ozzy, once you go over to talk to those people, they're clearly upset about something.
Okay, so before we had to watch 2 AA fight, now we need to watch 3 of them.
Oh. Place your bets.
There will be many paragons.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't just dispel this outright, so you have to wait till one of them dies.
Yeah. But the fights went pretty quick that time, which is good.
Yeah, I can see why you just really want to take advantage of the magic regeneration.
Yeah.
You have to have so much shield put up for this chapter.
But we're past the major magic drain parts of this, so it's fine.
Sounds like a barber shop. Sorry, just all the buzzing, I mean.
Okay. All the buzzing more or less reminds me of like buzzing.
Okay.
Alright, this is getting kind of depressing. Go ahead and, if you have any more plugs or donations to go off, it's probably be a good time.
We do not have anything at the moment, but let me remind you that this event is supporting Direct Relief, which is a charity that helps people who need help because of poverty, disasters, or any sort of emergency situation by quickly delivering essential medical resources. Your donations support people in 80 countries in all 50 states in America.
It's a good cause.
Thankfully, there's a little bit of a buffer after the last shield goes away that you can move around and move upwards.
Yeah, as we're getting kind of like winding down towards the end of this game, I definitely want to take this opportunity to say that it's really great to have a game like this come here to Calithon. This is not one you often see get offered for any live event all that often. It's a rare enough game for most people to own, and even rarer is the number of American runners.
Yeah, I believe every other most of the runners of this game are from Europe.
For a long time that was the case, but these days about half of the people on the leaderboard are American, so...
It's been something that's sort of built up over time. I believe
Yeah.
this game was once run at ESA.
Yes, by Zwajkin, the current world record holder. His PB, his annual world record, is 2 hours and 12 minutes. And it's also recorded on a webcam, fun fact. 3 years old at this point, and no one's beating it.
Yeah, it really goes to show that you don't need to worry about beating a world record, honestly. I've never concerned myself with it. If that's your ultimate goal, go right ahead. You can work at it all you want to, but if you're having fun with a good speedrun, then yeah. What more do you need?
Well put.
Hopefully there's no more trappers to deal with.
There are.
Why'd you tell me that?
So
At least I'm not the only one speaking too soon.
this purple floor, if I walk or run across it, I will get a sanity effect, which will reset me back to the start of the room until I restore my sanity. So instead I just sneak across. Also, an interesting thing about Alex here, she has the best stats of any of the characters throughout the game. Which is nice, because she's the one that has to fight the final boss.
We're approaching the end of this section. Fortunately, this one doesn't take quite as long. It's mainly just dealing with having to shield. You don't have to break down quite as many barriers. This final scenario ends up taking slightly less time overall than Edward Rorvis's scenario.
Yeah, and that's not even like accounting for like all the times you're playing as her, just getting the books pages. Like if you were to say that after doing the final chapter with Michael, and then you say her chapter began, it's still shorter.
Yeah, marginally. So I believe this is the. Are we at the last room?
Close to it.
Okay. So is there like a? Let me ask this one. Is there like a particular order you do for this this route as well?
Yeah, I try to do these ones so that I'll get the most use I can out of my shield, as well as I'll do all the magic intensive things while I have my Ulioth rune up, and I'll do all the reveal invisible requiring things while I have reveal invisible up from its first casting.
That's efficient.
I try.
Got a couple runes left if you got any new donations.
Yeah. One more after this.
Yes, we do. XD Wolfie donated $10 and said, "Good cause, good game, good work. Keep it up."
We will.
PX Micaiah donated $5 and said, "Pargon, cat boo. Also, let's get that Calithon logo on GX because we need more bears."
Shout out
Thanks,
to
PX.
PX. Thanks, PX. He's a good friend of ours in the community.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's right. Getting that logo up will be great.
Have you looked at your badges? They are amazing this year. They're incredible. I don't know who draw them, but they're fantastic. They all feature a bear in some way.
The badges were actually drawn by Muzz Yoshi, is a good friend of many of us in the Mario RPG different Mario RPG speedrunning communities like Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi. Yeah, she does great work. I've actually commissioned her for things before and never disappointed.
Oh,
So
No.
I accidentally swapped that over to Ulioth, so we're going to have to put that in again. So that's what happens if you get it wrong.
yeah, thankfully you got it wrong on the last one, so you
And-
don't have to go all the way back to do it.
It's
Yeah.
like, no, start it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do want to see the badges in full, go to the Calithon Twitter account and check in the media section. They're really good this year.
All right. We more or less got everything ready. The only thing we need to do is,
Go fight Pius.
yes. And the final boss is actually kind of I wouldn't say it's the most difficult fight. I would say it's more just like a really good culmination of everything that has happened in this game.
Yeah, it's very well built up. Also, the music for the final boss theme I think is really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Like thus far, we've heard a lot of thumping bass and screams of misery. So hopefully, some nice music will tune that out for the end of the run.
The price you pay for losing your mind. So I've heard.
Yeah. Indeed, the darkness comes.
And it's ugly. So right now, while we're fighting Pius, Chichurga and
Salotov.
Zolotov are currently duking it out.
Which all happens in cutscenes. Which are pretty cool cutscenes.
So now we're gonna fight.
Pius.
We're gonna fight against Pius with. I believe this is actually his own weapon. Like I believe he
Yeah.
uses a gladius in his story.
Yep.
So the way to defeat him is not actually to attack him per se. In this fight, you need to attack the relic of Zelotov that kind of warps and randomly appears throughout the stage.
Yep, you need to you need to like poke him once that causes the artifact to appear. And then when the artifact appears, you go and poke that.
Yep. And after a few times, you start getting to play as the people that the tome has led to the death to, such as Elia. And then you go through this little cycle. You hit him with Alex to get the relic. The relic go into the ghost form. Please don't hit me, Pius. Thank you. And then hit the relic as the ghost form.
This is genuinely a very simple fight in practice. The game system doesn't lend itself too well to particularly epic boss fights, but it doesn't particularly need it. I think this game holds its own pretty well on it. Besides that.
Yeah. The game's more than just about puzzle solving and smart resource management with your magic and equipment.
That was a very nice spawn.
Yeah, it's always nice when you don't have to go far to hit the artifact.
I've always felt like horror does its job best when it feels like you feel like you're invested in something. Like you don't, like you're afraid to lose something. Like that's actually a very impactful way of doing things. And I feel like the whole sanity system works well because you actually feel like, say you're gonna lose your save data, like that hits you at a different kind of horror. And I feel like it doesn't work if the game itself isn't anything interesting, which is why I just genuinely really like the use of its systems and combat, which is basic but interesting enough to keep you going. And then just a really solid, just like little story to it, which is very inspired by like Lovecraftian themes.
All right, now that we've destroyed the artifact, we can now hurt Pius. And I see no better way to kill an undead lich than with an enchanted shotgun. And now he only stopped teleporting around.
Oh, there's a wall there.
And
All
he's
right,
dead.
get ready for time. Time.
That's the ticket.
Says your time was 2:25:54.
Wow. That's just a few seconds off of my PB.
Nice.
It is finally over, my dear. The ancients' plans are finished,
Alright, well,
for now at least.
thanks everyone for watching.
Proved to be an incredibly
Thanks to the
courageous
Calathon staff for letting me run this
man.
game.
Your father would have
Been
proud of you.
quite a long time since this game's seen a marathon,
I'm
an
sorry
in-person
it had to be
marathon.
like this.
So,
It's not quite the inheritance
thank
I had
you
in
all.
mind for you.
Thanks for the run. That was entertaining.
Yep,
Glad to be a part of it. Yeah, glad to be a part of it. Yeah, so sort of what happens in this last cutscene, it's kind of just a nice little send-off, but you do kind of get like this illusion that, you know, we may have created a bigger problem by using the power of a god to defeat another one, which I feel like ties into a lot of the Lovecraftian themes, which tend to be like, as much as work as we put into it, we're not really saving the world so much as like just trying to make the best out of a bad situation. Because a lot of bad things happen to lead up to this. So, but I don't know. I still think that this is a very great game. It's definitely worth
And
playing.
to have my world spared from eternal darkness.
Hey, title drop.
Yep.
All right.
Think you're ready to go.
All right, thank you very much, wyrmtalon, for the run of this amazing game and the awesome commentary by Aussie and Ghost King.